Welcome to a special edition of Ed Talks. I have with me today a couple of our linemen because I wanted to give you guys a chance to hear from them about some of the things they do and some of the tools that they use, so that way you could better understand what goes into keeping your service reliable. So, why don't you guys introduce yourselves first, and then after that, we'll start talking about this.
All right. My name's Alex Schreiber. Been here almost 8 years. I'm a lineman.
My name's Ethan Klaus. I've been here about 2.5 years, and I'm just an apprentice. I'm an apprentice, not just an apprentice.
Not just an apprentice. That's quite a bit of time already. So, yeah. Well, thank you guys for agreeing to do this with me. I know it's not really your normal comfort zone to get in here and be on camera talking to people, but I think it's important that our members get a chance to hear from you some of the things that you're using and what that means for them. So let's think about a typical outage. No real such thing as a typical outage, right? But let's say, you're on call and you get a call that says, okay, we've got an outage out there and we need you guys to go run that down, figure out what's wrong, and get some kind of resolution for people. What kind of scenario could you think of there, and what tools would you be using to be able to help people with that?
Sure. So like a typical transformer outage, like a bird or a squirrel, one of the easier ones, we'll show up there, and if it's very visible, just a single outage, we can usually utilize, check over the equipment, test things that we need to test, check it over, and a lot of times it's as simple as a refuse operation, which we can do sometimes with a long stick, or we set the bucket up.
So what does that mean? It's a refuse, or you can just find it easily. What does that mean? What
Sure.
are you looking for, and what does that look like to someone?
So when we go out there, and you'll have your transformer on the pole, and above it you'll have a switch which protects not only the device but the line. It's kind of like a fuse in your house. This will open if there is a difference of, a squirrel gets across two things, or a bird gets into a ground in the hot phase. And this door here will swing open. That's what a lot of people hear, the loud boom. It'll be this, and the fuse is blowing. So when something like that would happen, we would get there, and usually the animal is there on the ground, a bird, squirrel, coon, and this fuse will blow out of here. So the door will fall open. Like I said, we'll go up, or check the situation, check things out, make sure everything's good to go, and we'll actually pull this door down, refuse it, and then a lot of times, like I said, we can use an extendo, or if we got to set the truck up to go up.
You're actually standing on the ground.
Yep.
And let's say that pole is standard pole that people see in their yard, 35 feet.
40 feet for a transformer pole.
You would have to stand there on the ground and use this extendo. So
Yeah.
Ethan, why don't you show them what that looks like?
Yeah.
Now this is what we call an extendo.
And obviously that won't reach right now, so extendo means
No.
we're going to extend it.
And we would refuse this door right here, and I would take it, and I'd run it up like this.
So you got to fit that into this little bitty hole
Yeah.
in the wind and rain, 40 feet in the air.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you just run it up like so, and then you got to be, real balanced with it, keep it straight, and you put it right in that little handle right there. And once you're in that, then you just slam it into the top of the cutout.
Okay. So let's try and get that pulled out enough where we can show them sort of what that looks like as far as distance goes on this extendo. So we'll pull it. You take that in, go that way with it, son. And you can see we're not going to get the whole thing out and be on camera. He's still going off camera over there. All right, so you got to be able to get this 40 feet in the air in a hole that big in order to be able to do this job. So what does it mean then when someone sees their lights blink a couple times and they just come right back on again? What happened there?
So we have devices out there, reclosers. This is an oil-filled recloser, and we also have vacuum reclosers. They're made to clear faults that aren't direct faults, or
Like what's an example of that?
Like a tree limb blowing on the line and then it lifts back off might clear itself, or there's times where like a squirrel could clear itself, like it's just one shot, or a coon, or basically a branch would fall and make contact with the phase and the neutral.
But then it falls off the line.
Yeah, it clear. Sure.
It didn't break anything.
Nope. It's usually a self-clearing fault, and these devices are set up to, like, you'll see your lights blink once, they'll come back on. They'll blink twice, come back on, and if the fault is like a direct fault or like a tree laying on the line, hit the phase and the neutral, it'll open this handle and your power will stay off. And then that's when we get called to come out and
then we have to actually send you guys out to go fix something.
Yes.
And then re-engage that back in again so that
is
flowing.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Ethan, I think a lot of people don't really realize that some of the work we do, and in fact a lot of the work we do, you're not actually killing their power. Right?
Yeah.
So how do you do that safely? What kind of things are you doing to be able to make sure that you can do that safely?
Well, the first thing we would start off would be is we'd put like a device like that, we would put that in one shot, so we'd only see if there would be something happen. There would be only one shot of current that would would hit us, and then I would wear my gloves, sleeves, and you wear these for just working the line. You wouldn't be 7200, and then we would put on cover up. So like for second point contact, say I bump my elbow into the phase or something like that, that primarily protects you, and that's the second point protection.
This goes on you.
Yeah.
That goes on the line.
Yep, line and devices, stuff like that.
Yes.
And how do we make sure then that this stuff is going to protect you? What are the procedures we do here to make sure? I think people would be surprised at what goes into doing that.
Yeah. So every day we would take these out. We would take our gloves, our protectors out of our gloves like this. And this is to make sure there's no holes in your gloves. You roll them out. You take it like this. And you make sure there's no holes in your gloves like that. You feel it, make sure you're good. And then your sleeves, you got to inspect them every day, make sure there's no holes, cuts, oils on them, stuff like that. And that's the stuff you would do to protect yourself.
Yeah, how big of a hole would it take to actually cause you to have some kind of...
It can be as small as like a pinhole. It can be even smaller than that, just with amount of voltage, stuff like that. It don't take much.
So it's really important that all of our linemen go through these checks on all of their equipment every day to make sure that there's no issues.
Yeah.
Because the ultimate goal here is that safety is paramount, and the way you come into work is the same way you go home.
Yeah. And then our gloves, we would do the air test every day, and then the company takes these gloves and we send them into a second party company to test these. They dip them in water and make sure there's no even smaller pinhole holes in it, and then every 4 months you would take your sleeves and they'd test them to another second party company. So
right. Yeah, really, really important that we do that. You can see on this table here, we have a ton of different tools that are used. And actually, this isn't even everything. This is just trying to give a sampling of things. But there's quite a bit of changes over the years, too. So, it's been 20 years for me in the industry, and I've known guys who retired after 40, even 50 years, and they tell me that the tools nowadays are a class above what they ever had available to them. Can you talk about a little bit of that? What is a good example of one of those tools that would really make life a lot easier?
Yeah, so years ago, they were using crescent wrenches a lot, which I didn't grab one, but crescent wrenches, channel locks, that was their main tool. Screwdrivers, pliers. You didn't have we got a 4-in-1 wrench that goes 4 different sizes, fits most of our, connections that we make on a daily basis between one of those 4. We got, the Milwaukee tools have been huge. These are battery powered cutters for doing hot work especially. It allows you to control with one hand and cut with another, and you're not worried about bolt cutters, which is what they used to have to use, This big impact here kind of took the place of your crescent wrench on every day. Bolts, nuts, hanging new switches, hanging new transformers, stuff like that. It's just a very versatile tool.
Right.
We got the Sawzall for doing underground stuff, conduits, basically anything. It's come a long way. The pole saw is a big one. The Milwaukee pole saw is a big one. You don't have to put yourself right up in the zone. It's lighter than a.
What does that mean, the zone? What does that mean to people?
So like if we got to remove a tree off a line that's just got the line pinned down, the wire didn't come down, there's a lot of tension there. So it's with the pole saw, we can actually stay, down underneath instead of being right up in there with a regular chainsaw, making them cuts that are under tension. We can release the tension from down lower, make safer cuts, be in a safer position. You're not right up on top of everything making the cuts. So things have come a long way.
We do a lot for public safety, education events, things like that. And so I've seen over the years some people in car pole accidents, things like that. What's the advice you would give them, Ethan, if they were ever in that type of situation?
One thing I would say, if you were in the vehicle, you would stay in your vehicle no matter what. You don't get out there until we would show up so we can kill and de-energize the line. And then say you're just a bystander, walking down the street, something like that. You want to stay as far away as possible as you can. I mean, you might want to help the people in the car, but that might be the worst thing you can do, is because you could end up being a victim too. I mean, it's just stuff like that.
You don't have to touch that line.
No, because
get close to it.
Yeah, because that line, it can stay hot, make the ground hot, stuff like that. You can have step potential, stuff like that. So
and show them our hot boots. So
and that's why we wear these hot boots. So if we show up to like that and the wire on the ground's still hot, this would protect us from the step potential, stuff like that.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
It's another part of safeguarding.
Well, I think we could spend probably hours out here talking about all the different tools, but I just want to make sure everybody's aware of what you guys do every day to make sure that we have reliable power, but in a safe way, so that way our linemen, again, go home the same way that they came to work. And that's really important, I think, not just to me, but to the members, to the board, and also, of course, to all the linemen and their families. So appreciate you guys taking some time to talk with me today. It's been great. We may do more of this in the future. I'm not sure, but it's been good to get out and talk to you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.